following the calling of your soul isn't optional. It's imperative, and you feel the weight of that because that calling is your own unique map to fulfilling exactly what you came here to do. A necessary puzzle piece in this elaborate puzzle we're all collectively putting together.
Welcome to the Anniston Riekstins Show. This space is created for the woman coming home to her voice, her power, her way. For the woman remembering who she really is, beneath the noise, beneath the roles, beneath the world's expectations. I'm Anniston, transformational guide, spiritual teacher, best-selling author, and creator, here to walk beside you, to share stories, wisdom, and energy that guide you back home. Here, we lead from the inside out. We create from overflow, not hustle. We rise not by becoming someone else, but by remembering who we've always been. This isn't just a podcast. It's a homecoming. So let's dive in.
Hello, sisters, and welcome back to the Anniston Riekstins Show. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm not going to spend a lot of time telling you what this podcast is because I'd rather just show you. And this episode is me showing you. For most of my life, I have hushed and quieted myself, self-silenced my truth. I have hidden what I've known. And today, under the light of this beautiful full moon on July 29th, on the time of recording this, that stops. So here's what this space is for. It's for women who are ready to stop negotiating their truth down to something smaller and safer. Women who feel a yes rising in them right now as they're listening to this. If that's you, keep listening. And if it's not you yet, that's okay too, sister, because resonance can't be forced. It either happens or it doesn't. And either way, I'd rather you hear the real me than a version of me I edited for your comfort. So let me tell you how I got here. For most of my life, I hushed and quieted my beliefs, my truth, my inner knowing, because I feared it wouldn't be accepted by others. I negotiated my authenticity down to what was palatable, thinking that would give me the safety, the belonging, the nod that I so desperately sought. And my validation came from others, because what I believed didn't seem to hold the same weight as their beliefs. At least, that's the story I was telling myself. What was really happening is that I judged my own beliefs to be unacceptable. I rejected my authentic soul knowings and decided they were wrong, that they were bad. And I was the one who decided I didn't matter unless someone else told me so. I withheld the permission to be my authentic self, and no one else did that to me, just me. My soul has been taking me on a deep journey of reclamation. And the most painful part of that process was realizing it was I who caused myself the greatest pain and suffering. But it was also I who got to be the liberator, the healer, the one who gave myself permission to become whole again. I remembered all the parts of me I had exiled one by one, stitch by stitch. And as I've become more whole, I'm seeing myself through a fresh set of lenses that lack the fear and distortion that the old ones had. I'm seeing my unique perspective as a gift rather than liability, and my ability to sense, feel, and receive divine inspiration as a supernatural wonder rather than a ticket to rejection. I'm remembering that evolving myself, remembering myself, and expressing as my original design was always the plan, always the goal of my soul, and certainly not the goal of my ego, which would love nothing more than for me to stay in the conditioned box that I built for myself. So I'm a woman who is no longer aspiring to be or do anything other than continue reaching for my soul's truth, my authentic expression, my true self. And as I do that, I remember more and I create and hold a frequency that gives other women permission to do the same. Before I share my truth, my beliefs with you, I want to give you an instruction because I don't want you to just listen to this episode. I want you to use it as an experiment for resonance. Here's what I mean by that. As I go through my truths about the world, religion, manifestation, myself, one by one, I want you to notice what happens in your body, not just what your mind thinks about what I'm saying, but what does your body actually do? Because our bodies always communicate what's in resonance with our soul. Sometimes that shows up as goosebumps, what I like to call soul truth bumps or spirit bumps. That little full body shiver that runs through you out of nowhere. That's not random. That's a sign to pay attention, a true sign of resonance with something you might not consciously understand yet. So when it happens, don't brush past it. Let it register. And I want to be really clear about something here because this part really matters. A no, this isn't my truth feels different than fear. Our nervous systems are wired to fear what's outside our comfort zone, outside our existing belief systems. And that's just biology. That's protection. So when you hear something that challenges what you were taught, your body might tense, your chest might tighten, your mind might get loud and defensive. And that's fear. That's your nervous system doing its job, keeping you inside familiar walls. But a true no, this isn't true for me, feels different. It's quieter, it's calmer, more like a knowing than a bracing. Less, get me out of here, and more, this just isn't my path. So notice the difference, sit with it, and let your body tell you rather than deciding with your mind before you've even felt it. There's a third signal I want you to watch for too, and that's confusion. In my experience, and in the experience of so many of the women that I have the privilege of working with, confusion is rarely a sign that you don't know your truth. It's usually a sign that you're trying to negotiate it, trying to squeeze your own soul knowing into someone else's framework instead of trusting the one that's already inside of you. So many of the women who come to me are experiencing confusion, a lack of clarity, a deep mistrust of themselves and their own direction. And almost every time, what's actually happening is that they've stopped accessing and honoring their own soul truth and started trying to borrow someone else's instead. So if you notice confusion rising as you listen to this, don't take that as a sign to shut down. Take it as information, as feedback, because it might be pointing you right back to the parts of your own knowing you've been taught to doubt. One more thing before I begin. These aren't beliefs that I'm reciting because they sound good or because I read them somewhere and I liked them. My truths have been formed through my own lens, my own life experience, my own spiritual journey. And they've become embodied in how I operate and how I move through the world. What I'm about to share with you doesn't live in the I think this might be true category for me. These have been with me long enough, tested by enough of my own life that they live in the I know category. And they shape how I see the world, how I see myself, and my place here, the way that all beliefs do. So here's my truth, and nothing but my truth. Here's what I believe as it relates to source, soul, and purpose. I believe we are all created by the same creator, that we are all a unique expression of the same source. So, yes, we are all one, all connected, and that source is love. So, our nature is to be love. And what's unnatural, meaning not of our creator, is hate and separation. I'm not attached to what word anyone uses for their creator, but I believe the creator is most responsive every time we say the words I am, because that's where we connect with and create alongside the power of our creator. I believe our souls live thousands of lifetimes, that we are energetic beings in an energetic universe, and that energy can't be destroyed, only transformed. That's physics. I don't believe our creator is in the habit of destroying what it creates, because what it creates is in perfection and by design. And the expansive nature of the universe is just further proof of that. Our souls incarnate to transform, evolve, heal, balance, and more than anything, to serve. And I once had a life between lives regression that was so profound, it changed how I see my place in the world forever. I will share more on that one another time. It's good. I believe we all incarnated at this specific time for a reason. And for many of us, is to finish what we started in other lifetimes, to usher in the new earth, which I believe is heaven on earth, and to bring humanity's frequency into a state of divine love, connection, and unity. And that's why following the calling of your soul isn't optional. It's imperative, and you feel the weight of that because that calling is your own unique map to fulfilling exactly what you came here to do. A necessary puzzle piece in this elaborate puzzle we're all collectively putting together. Here's what I believe as it relates to Jesus, religion, and the afterlife. I believe Jesus Christ was one of the most powerful, ascended, enlightened masters to walk the earth and anchor Christ consciousness frequency. And I believe he wasn't the only one. Buddha walked that same path too, and so did other ascended masters throughout history, each of them anchoring and demonstrating a different facet of that same enlightened consciousness for us to learn from. And I don't believe we were ever meant to worship any of them, to outsource our own power to them. I believe their example is proof that we are all connected individually and irrevocably to our Creator, and that no middleman is required. Because we all have the ability to become Christed, to heal and activate our hearts and live from the higher energy centers of spiritual perception and insight, to radiate divine love from within the way they did, and ultimately to change the world. And to remember what Jesus told us: these things I do, you will do, and greater things than these. I believe religion was created to give structure to our learning. It was a container to help us understand something too big to hold all at once. But somewhere along the way, that structure calcified into something else, into another form of separation, another way of ranking whose truth counted and whose didn't. I am spiritual, deeply spiritual, and I have a direct relationship with my Creator and my soul. No institution required. I believe religion serves its purpose in your life however it needs to. And I am not here to tell you to leave it if it is serving you. But it will never, and it can never, and was never designed to fill the hole that only your own direct relationship with your Creator can fill. I believe heaven and hell aren't destinations you go to after you die, but energetic realities we experience right here on earth. When you live in fear, lack, and separation, you're experiencing hell. And when you elevate your frequency into love, connection, joy, and divine purpose, you're experiencing heaven. And you're not just experiencing it, you're helping create it. And honestly, all you have to do is listen to near-death experience accounts to see this in action. Because in every account I have ever come across, not one single person has described arriving in hell. Every one of them describes something closer to a return to love, an overwhelming, all-encompassing love, like finally arriving home. I believe that to sin is simply to miss the mark. Not the version so many of us were taught where sinners are cast off to hell for it. I believe we were meant to come here and try and fail our way forward, to fail our way back into remembrance of who we are, and that to truly sin is to misperceive your life, to not see it clearly, to not see it through the divine lens of truth, to believe that worthiness is performative and that based on your performance will guarantee or block you from the love of your Creator. When you remember that life is happening for you, you get to see that even your perceived failures were always, always irrevocably connected to your purpose. Here are my beliefs as it relates to the divine feminine. I believe the divine feminine was suppressed, diluted, distorted by the patriarchy for centuries. That the feminine principle was edited out of our sacred texts, our history, our language, and that we were subjugated into the supporting character role of our own life story. I believe the witch hunts were never really about witches. I believe they were about silencing women who knew things, women who could heal with their hands and their herbs, women who trusted their intuition and their inner knowing, their visions, their dreams. They read the stars, women who gathered other women together and reminded them of their power. And millions of women were tortured and killed for exactly what I'm doing right now. speaking their truth out loud, for being intuitive, for being healers, for being seers, for refusing to hand their knowing over to someone else's authority. And that terror didn't just disappear, it got passed down generation after generation of women learning without ever being told directly to shrink our knowing, to doubt our gifts, to call our intuition just a feeling instead of what it actually is, which is information. Our healing abilities and our gifts of sight, sense, and knowing aren't strange, and they're certainly not woo. They are divine feminine qualities. They were always feminine qualities, and we are allowed to have them back. I believe we've had many divine feminine leaders and archetypes throughout time and history. And I don't believe we're meant to worship them any more than I believe we're meant to worship Jesus. I believe we're meant to work with them, to call on them, the way you'd call on a mirror, to help activate the specific divine feminine archetype that's wanting to be remembered within you, because you have all of them, sister. I love using divine feminine oracle decks for exactly this reason. I'll pull a card and I'll sit with it and I'll let it reflect back which quality, whether it be the warrior, the mystic, the mother, the sovereign, is asking to be remembered in me that day. Our minds are loud. They're constantly negotiating, second guessing, talking us out of what we already know. But I believe in the power of intention, that if you ask a question, you will receive an answer. And you just have to get quiet enough and clear enough to hear it. That's why working with tarot and oracle decks have been a go-to practice of mine for years. And it was never about fortune telling or abdicating or outsourcing my intuition. It's a mirror, a way of asking a question and trusting I'll receive the answer I need. I've also been guided to book readings with many gifted psychics, intuitives, Akashic readers. I believe our soul uses others as conduits to deliver us important reminders, messages, and inspiration, especially in the seasons when we're not able to hear our own intuition clearly. But I also believe that no one can predict your future, because your future is always changing, shaped moment to moment by the choices you're making and what you're choosing to focus on. So instead of treating a reading as a prediction, I believe that when you hear something that resonates, you get to choose to create that. Nothing is happening to you. You are literally happening to your reality. And so I choose to use those sessions as empowering brainstorm sessions with my soul, a way of reminding myself that I hold the final authority over what gets created and what doesn't. I believe we were gifted tools to help us remember, like numerology, astrology, human design, and I believe they were demonized because they gave power back to the individual. The true gift of these tools isn't the tool itself, it's the resonance you feel when it reflects something back to you that you've forgotten. Because the tool isn't the magic, you are. I use these tools to remember daily, and I use them to help my clients remember too. I believe numbers are vibrational energy, and once you learn to interpret them, you understand your own vibration more accurately, and we attract through our vibration. So your birth date isn't a series of random numbers. It's an energetic instruction manual for the exact path that your soul wanted to walk and master. And the sounds inside your birth name hold the codes, the blueprint for your divine mission here, for who you came here to be while you walk your life path. It's for these reasons I decided to become a master numerologist and a soul contract practitioner. I also have spent years studying astrology and human design. Because, as I said before, when you stop trying to become someone you're not and you put all of your energy into remembering who you were actually designed to be, watch out, sisters. The world will change before your very eyes. Hey, sister, let's take a quick pause because I want to tell you about something I have just released. It is a free numerology quiz called Uncover the Hidden Patterns Shaping Your Life. And all you need is your date of birth. Here's what you're going to walk away with: your life path number, the curriculum you came here to master, and clarity on the hidden pattern that has been quietly running your life without you even knowing it was there. Because once you can see it, You can stop blaming yourself for it. You realize it was never a you problem. It was just a pattern you hadn't seen clearly yet. And once you can see it, you can actually do something about it. One of my clients said it best. She said, Anniston didn't just tell me about my path, she helped me remember it. That is what this quiz does. The link is in the show notes. It is free and it is worth every minute. Now back to the episode. All right, now let's talk about sex. I believe sexual energy is healing energy and that it's one of the most direct paths we have to higher enlightenment. Not something to shame, to suppress, or keep hidden, but something sacred, like our creative life force energy, the very thing that brought us into being in the first place. And I believe a woman's pleasure is her power. For centuries, we were taught that pleasure was dangerous, that it was something to police in ourselves and repress, to police in other people. And we learned to make ourselves smaller in our bodies the same way we learned to make ourselves smaller in our beliefs. But pleasure isn't the opposite of the sacred. Pleasure is sacred. And it's one of the fastest paths back into the body, back into being present, back into remembering that we are divine energy having a human experience, not the other way around. When a woman is disconnected from her pleasure, she is disconnected from her power. Her voice gets quieter. Her yes gets smaller. Her no gets harder to say. But when she reclaims her pleasure, she reclaims her worth, her voice, her right to take up space and to receive without apology or guilt. And that's not incongruence and it's not selfish. That is a woman remembering her throne. My husband Rudy and I have studied and continued to practice Tantra in the simplest terms I can offer you. Tantra teaches that when we can, through presence, breath, and intention, activate our sexual energy and move it up the spine, we activate our pineal gland and thus gain access to expanded consciousness and higher awareness. Also, when the body is aroused, we raise our frequency. And I don't just mean arousal through sex, although that is one way. I mean arousal in the fullest sense, that electric, alive, turned on with your life feeling that moves through you when you follow a flash of divine inspiration, when you say yes to the thing that scares you, when you create something that is so true to your soul. When you're moved to tears by beauty or struck by an idea that you can't shake, or you feel that unmistakable full body yes. That's arousal too. And that's your frequency rising. And while sex is one doorway into that state, it's a powerful one. It isn't the only one, because any moment your body comes fully alive is a moment you're closer to God. I believe we all have the ability to facilitate our own healing because the body is the most intelligent technology ever created. And it already knows how to restore and maintain balance and well being on its own. But we keep introducing foreign elements that this technology was never designed by God to hold. The way pouring diesel into a car built for unleaded doesn't just fail to fuel it, it damages it. One way we do this is holding and repressing emotion instead of letting it just move through us the way it's designed to. So our system never actually fully digests it or the experience. Kind of like gum sitting in your stomach for years, or at least that's what my mom always told me. I think it was like 7 years your gum hangs out. It can look like toxins in your food that isn't really food at all, that isn't made from the earth, which is most of what fills the center aisles of our grocery store. Alcohol, low frequency media and music, pharmaceuticals, all of it is asking our bodies to process something they were never designed to hold. And I believe that means we have to take full accountability for advocating for our own bodies, for healing them, because no one else is coming to save you. You have to do that for yourself. I believe we have access to profound spiritual gifts: clairvoyance, the ability to see beyond the physical; clairsentience, the ability to feel energy and emotion that isn't our own; claircognizance, the ability to just know something without being able to explain how, and there are so many more. These aren't rare, special case abilities reserved for a chosen few. They're dormant in all of us, the same way a muscle is dormant until you use it. And I believe we've just been taught to distrust them, to explain them away, to call them coincidence or an overactive imagination, but they're real. They're ours, and they get stronger the more permission we give ourselves to trust them and utilize them. I believe we have access to tremendous divine support as long as we ask for it. And I don't just believe in angelic beings and in the presence of support from departed loved ones. I've had profound experiences with them. I ask daily, and I receive assistance from archangels like Michael, Raphael, Metatron, Zadkiel, as well as divine feminine beings like Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Isis, and Hathor. And I believe we all have the ability to channel, to receive divine knowing, inspiration, and messages directly, not just through an intermediary, not through someone else's interpretation. I believe we can speak directly with God and with other high frequency beings of love because we were built for exactly that. And we came stock standard, designed with a pineal gland, an actual physical antenna structure in the brain designed for that kind of spiritual perception, that kind of connection. I believe that gland has been weaponized against us, calcified, dulled, disconnected by everything from what's in our water, aka fluoride, like food toxins like glyphosate, to what we've been fed to believe about our own limitations. But it can be reclaimed and decalcified and reactivated, remembered. And when it is, that channel back to source, back to direct communications, opens back up because it was never fully closed. We were just taught not to trust that it was open. So, here are some of my beliefs about the cosmos and the unseen. I believe we are not the only conscious, intelligent beings in this universe, that this is an ever expanding galaxy filled with different species of intelligent life. So, yes, I believe in extraterrestrials. And I believe for the most part they're benevolent. Otherwise, we would have been blown up a long time ago. And I believe I am the final authority over my own energy. And by claiming that authority, by only allowing the highest frequency of truth, love, and God to enter, I get to open my mind and my heart without fear. And yes, I believe in all things magical. I believe everything that showed up in our fairy tales came from a remembrance, a knowledge of something that used to be known to exist. And I believe fairies, part of the Davic kingdom, exist in another dimension that we simply can't see. The same way I believe in dragons and unicorns and elves and gnomes. I mean, I live in a Harry Potter kind of world, and I believe many of us are what you'd call starseeds, souls who didn't originate from Earth at all, who, if it's you, probably have never quite felt like you belonged here. Souls who came from other places and who brought all of their knowledge and their wisdom and their frequency and awareness with them, as long as we're willing to start remembering it. Because we came here to hold a very, very specific frequency for people. There are lots of different starseed origins people talk about. There's Palladian, Syrian, Arcturian, Andromedan, Lyran, just to name a few. And I believe each one carries its own distinct characteristics, qualities, and divine mission here on Earth. I personally have always resonated most with the Palladians, and I've been told by more than one Akashic reader and psychic that I carry Palladian origins in my soul's architecture. I've also been told I'm an ancient soul, which I've always known. I've always known that, and that I've lived in many different civilizations across many different lifetimes, including Atlantis and Lemuria. And the more that I remember myself, the more all of that keeps confirming itself to be true. I believe the natural world is conscious and full of the magic we're desperately seeking. I believe every rock has consciousness, every tree, every animal, every river, every mountain, and that all of it is aware. All of it is alive. All of it is another expression of that same source I talked about at the very beginning of this. Because God is, God is, God is, God is. And I believe we can connect with that energy. That when we put our bare feet on Mother Earth soil, we're not just grounding an electrical charge. We are actually connecting with our true nature, remembering that we are nature too. We're not separate from it. We're not above it. We're just another one of her expressions doing exactly what she designed us to do. I believe the elements themselves are alive, Fire transforms, water purifies, air carries inspiration and divine knowledge, and earth grounds us into our true selves, our birthright, and activates our own magnetic field, just as she has one. In fact, water holds memory and it holds frequency and it responds to love the exact same way it responds to hate under a microscope because its structure literally reorganizes itself around whatever energy it's exposed to. And our bodies are made mostly of water. So every thought we think, every word we speak, every emotion we sit in is doing that same thing inside of us. It's structuring us moment to moment around whatever frequency we're steeping ourselves in, which means the words we speak over ourselves are never neutral, never just words. They're always shaping something. I believe sound is the creative force of the universe. And your words, the vibration coming out of your own voice box when you feel it, are your wand. Just as the Creator spoke and the world was formed, we speak and our world is formed too. And every word out of your mouth is an incantation, whether you're treating it that way or not. And that creative force isn't only creative, it's healing too. I use sound frequencies to heal often in my own life and with my clients, and you can literally feel the difference, feel the shift in your own energy when you do. I have a lot of healing tools I love working with. I use Emotion Code and Body Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson, which uses muscle testing to allow me to identify and release my own repressed emotion and imbalances in my body. And underneath all of that, I truly believe we are our own gurus. I believe the movement of the planets is just external proof of what's already moving inside of us, transforming and expanding. That our insides are made visible, and planetary transits, the moon's lunation, are all just invitations, not predictions. Invitations to surrender, to accept, to allow, to receive. I also believe that as women, our bodies are effing amazing, and that the moon cycles are a roadmap for us to follow within our own body cycles. We were never meant to be consistent, ladies. We were always meant to be cyclical. And when we align with our body's wisdom and flow with it instead of against it, everything else starts to flow too. It gives us permission to be all things, to move through all 4 seasons in one singular month, to feel one way today and feel completely different tomorrow, and to give ourselves full permission and allowance to do exactly that. Believing that you're not connected to nature and her seasons, that's the lie. That is the distortion. And it's the separation. And it's exactly what got stamped out by the patriarchy all those years ago because it gave us our power. I believe that as souls prior to being born, we choose our parents and we choose the relationships that are going to be in our lives very intentionally because we carry soul contracts and soul agreements with specific souls. Agreements that we made to provide circumstances and experiences for each other that would allow us to learn and grow. And I believe that when we graduate from this existence, we're going to high five each other and say, wow, man, you really had me there. Holding on to a grudge, holding on to resentment is actually costing you. It's your own prison. It anchors you exactly where you are, and it causes so much unnecessary pain when in truth, the soul you feel did something bad to you, hurt you, or betrayed you was simply fulfilling an agreement. Your role is to see the purpose in it, to remember it, and to grow and learn from it. You don't have to like what they did, but you do have to remember that there are no accidents, no coincidences, and no wasted moments or experiences. There's also no victims. That there was something there for you in it. And if you stay stuck in resentment, you can't get to the gold of that experience. I believe life is happening for you, that Earth is a divine school, a tough one for the soul, and that we're born under a veil of forgetting so we can take our own hero or heroine's journey back to remembering who we really are. And all of our external reality, it's collaborating to help us remember. The movement of the moon and stars, the way nature mirrors our human bodies, the way the seasons cycle, the way a river flows and surrenders to the current, the way the ocean breathes in and out in a regulated way, the way animals trust their instincts instead of fighting them. Nature simply is. And that's the invitation for us to simply be ourselves. I believe we create by holding the frequency of what it is that we're seeking. We then naturally attract it in because we are magnetic beings. But that only works when we're in harmony with ourselves. And that's actually part of why I'm recording this episode in the first place. Because when you're in disharmony with your truth, you're out of congruence with who you really are. When your insides don't match your outsides, it creates disharmony externally. We think it stays hidden. Oh no, it doesn't. It creates confusion and distortion out there, and all of it starts with you. It all starts and stops with you. And when you come back into harmony, into congruence with your authentic truth, not needing it to be the truth for everyone else, just honoring what you feel is true for you, you create harmony outside of you too. And your life starts to flow, it starts to unfold. And that's the part of alignment that's just so juicy and amazing, because that's when you find yourself in harmony with God's abundance, with opportunities, with everything you need before you even know you need it, simply because you've come back into congruence with you. I believe we co create our realities, but that we create by changing what's on the inside, because we don't create what we want. We actually just create what we are. And I believe we all carry a divine purpose that's been calling to us, nudging us, unfolding all around us our whole lives. And that we came here with unique genius meant to be shared with the world. It was never just for us. And when we share it, that's when we unlock the fulfillment, the joy, the abundance that comes from aligning with and accepting and expressing our most authentic self. These truths, ladies, are mine and mine alone. I accept them, I honor them, and I'm not sharing them with any expectation of a nod of agreement or a nod of approval. I'm sharing them to show you something, that it's okay for you to hold different beliefs than the people around you. And it's okay for you to stand in your truth confidently with strength and love, and let other people do the same. I want you to repeat after me. I choose me. I choose my truth. I am chosen. So if any part of what I just shared made something in you sit up and go, yes, that's your frequency meeting mine. And that's resonance. And that's the whole point of this podcast. Not to convince you of anything, but to hold a frequency clear enough that the women who are meant to find me, find me. The women who are I am meant to serve, feel me. If you're one of the women who felt that yesterday, I'd love for you to stay close. And if you want the fuller story of how I got here, this isn't the first time I've spoken it out loud. For the last few months, I've been dropping episodes as part of what I'm calling my Truth Teller series, each one peeling back another layer of this same reclamation. And they're all sitting there in the podcast feed for you to go back through whenever you're ready for more of the story. And this is also just the beginning. I'm a spiritual teacher, a spiritual mentor for soul-led women stepping fully and visibly into their purpose. And I'm being guided to build this into a space where we go deep on every single one of these topics, all of them, and not in a purely mental, gain more knowledge kind of way, but in a true embodiment kind of way, where I don't just teach you what I know, but I bring in specialists, women who are gifted and embodied and further down certain paths than I am. So you get to receive their knowledge and also their frequency too. Because this was never about me having all the answers. It's about building a space where truth, real truth, all of it gets to be lived, not just learned. That space has a name. It's a monthly membership called Embody Her, and it opens this fall. I will be sharing all the details soon, so click the link below to get on the wait list. But for now, just know this. If anything in this episode made you feel that yes, that recognition, that spirit bump, Embody Her is where we're going to take all of it further together. Because Sisters 2027 is asking for 100% truth, 100% authentic embodiment, not the polished, palatable, curated version. All of you. So today, this episode, this was my gift to you. but it was also my stake in the sand. This is me. And I want you to know that I am standing for the most authentic expression of you, even if we have completely different beliefs and opinions. Isn't that freeing? Isn't that just so liberating to be able to love and support another woman without conditions? All right, sisters, until next time, go be exactly, unapologetically who you already are. And if you know another sister, another woman who could use this today, please share, rate, and review this podcast so that we can get the word out farther and wider and we can impact more women. All right, I love you so much, and I'll check you on next week's episode.
Thank you for being here, beautiful soul. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to pass it along to another woman who might need these words today. And if you feel called, it would mean so much if you would take a moment to rate and review this podcast. It's one of the best ways to support this work and help these messages reach more women who are ready to remember who they are. And if you'd like to stay connected or share what's landing for you, come find me over on Instagram. I'd love to meet you there. Until next time, keep trusting your rhythm, keep honoring your voice, and keep becoming the woman you were always meant to be.